Welcome to the Defense and Aerospace Report. I'm Vago Maradian. This month, the Italian Navy frigate Alpino will be visiting Boston, Baltimore, New York, and Norfolk to showcase the ship to U.S. Navy leaders as they assess proposals for a new multi-mission frigate. The Alpino is an anti-submarine frigate of the FREMM class, co-developed by Italy and France. The ship, built by Italy's Fincantieri, is competing for the award against variants of the two littoral combat ships now in Navy service, one by Lockheed Martin with Fincantieri and the other by Austal with General Dynamics. A design by Huntington Ingalls and an American version of Spain's F-100 frigate being bid by a team composed of GD's Bath Iron Works and Spain's Navantia. We hope to make it aboard the Alpino during her American tour, but when we were in Qatar earlier this year to cover the Doha International Maritime Exhibition, known as Dimdex, where our coverage was sponsored by Dimdex, we had a chance to visit Alpino's sister ship, the Carlo Margottini. The visit came before Fincantieri and Huntington Ingalls were among the companies that sponsored our coverage of the Navy League's recent Sea Aerospace Conference and Trade Show. Aboard the Carlo Margottini, we met with Captain Giuseppe Lai and Lieutenant Riccardo Rossi, the ship's anti-submarine warfare officer, who gave us a tour. Talk to us a little bit about the FREMM frigate. Just to let our audience know, obviously the U.S. Navy is going through a frigate competition right now. It's looking at upgraded versions of the two littoral combat ship, one the Fincantieri Lockheed Martin ship, the other one the Austal General Dynamics ship. And then you are one of the competitors in this, not you, but the ship is. And then the naval version of the National Patrol Cutter, National Security Cutter, as well as in that mix. But of those ships, you're the only one that's a dedicated design for an anti-submarine frigate, which is one of the things the U.S. Navy wants out of this ship, which is why so many people in the Navy are interested in it. Talk to us a little bit about the capabilities of the ship, its crew, its endurance, all of the features that are attractive from a naval perspective, from your perspective as the commanding officer of the ship.
Okay, the Margottini is the third FREMM that was launched for the Italian Navy and is the second one in its ASW version, so fitted for anti-submarine warfare. Its main characteristics are, besides the hull sonar, is a towed array sonar and a curtain that increase your capability in terms of anti-submarine warfare discovery. Moreover, he is integrated with the possibility to operate with helicopters, EH-101 and SH-90. We have two. At the moment, one is ASW fitted. It's also very flexible ship, able to operate not only in the ASW domain, but also in the control of large space and maritime situation awareness build-up, and also counter illegal arms trafficking and every kind of operation, including humanitarian relief.
And also anti-surface warfare, obviously, because you've got the guns fore and aft on the ship as well.
Yes, absolutely. It's fitted with two guns, 76, 62 millimeters, one in the forepart, one on the stern, plus the two 25 millimeter machine guns for force protection, basically.
And then also you guys have a missile fit as well, which I want to get to as well in a moment. Talk to us about the propulsion system, because everything you have is sort of optimized to reduce radiated noise. Talk to us about some of the features you have in engineering, how you're managing to get your radiated noise down.
The ship has electric propulsion plus turbine propulsion in a combined way, meaning that for cruise speeds up to 15 knots, we can use our electric propulsion fitted by 4 diesel-electrics engines. But for higher speeds, up to 27 knots, the ship is propelled by a gas turbine.
And so that gives you speed, but also long loiter and endurance. And that's one of the things that the Navy has discussed in its next ship, to have something with a little bit greater range. And I know that range is always speed dependent, but say at battle force speed, say at about 12 knots, how much range do you have with your ship?
At economic speed, we have about 6,000 nautical miles range. This is the wide that we can cover.
And talk to us a little bit about the crew level. There's, every Navy in the world is figuring out how to automate more, how to reduce crew size because people are expensive. You have to pay people pensions, especially warrant officers get pensions. That's just a sort of an inside Italian joke about warrant officer pensions. But talk to us a little bit about your crew size and whether it's too small or is it just right for the missions that you're trying to accomplish.
The crew is fitted for this kind of ship that is very automatized. So, meaning that I have 168 people on board. I can accommodate up to 200 in case I put inside air crews, special forces, marines. And this kind of crew is fitted, as I said, for the level of technology that is on board of the ship. Many functions they are automatized. The combat system is fitted to be operated from a single room, and also for the damage control system we have remote cameras and everything can be controlled by a single place. So that gives you the possibility to run the ship with a reduced crew than the previous one, of course.
And talk to us a little bit about damage control because that's something that every Navy practices and it's a worst case scenario. But from a damage control standpoint, talk to us a little bit about the features that you have, whether they're firefighting features, how much is automated, and how compartmented you are in the ship in order to be able to isolate damage, for example, in the event of a missile strike or any other casualty.
The ship is fitted with a water mist firefighting system that is completely automatized. Moreover, in the various compartments as gas system for the fire extinguisher. But what is most important is that every compartment can be remotely controlled. So we have a very early warning in our operation center and also in the propulsion center. So for this security reason.
So you don't necessarily have to have people sitting there sweating all day and reading gauges.
Yes.
They can just monitor it from a distance.
Yes, absolutely. Then, in case we need to send people, we have them trained for firefighting and floodings.
I hope not. Let me ask you, go back to the combat system for a second, because you guys also have a 3D search radar. So even though you're an anti-submarine ship, you still have that air search capability. We've talked about the guns a little bit. We've talked about the towed array and the hull-mounted sonar. But talk to us a little bit more about your offensive weaponry, whether in an anti-surface warfare situation, what kind of missilery can you put on it, and what sort of self-defense and air defense and local area defense, because I know you guys also escort the Cavour as well as the Garibaldi, which are the two carriers in the Italian Navy. Talk to us a little bit about your overall weapons fit and the kind of capabilities you have.
Yes. Basically, starting from the radar that you mentioned, the 3D multidimensional radar, we have associated to this the Aster 15 and the Aster 30 missile system that is fitted for local area defense. So we are able with this system not only to put self-defense for our unit, but also to cover a unit that may be escorted by the ship. This system is also integrated with the self-defense system of the 3 inches gun, the one put on the fore and the one to the stern, and of course with the electronic warfare suite that has chaff and decoys launching system, fully integrated in this compartment.
And what about any surface weapons aside from the gun? What sort of missilery do you guys carry to be able to reach out and touch somebody a little bit farther away than the gun?
Yes, regarding that, we have the Teseo system, which is a surface-to-surface missile system conceived in the Italian industry and is run by the surface radar.
Talk to us a little bit about what these last few days have been like for you guys, because the chief of the Italian Navy was here. There was a very large Italian delegation. How busy were you guys over the last 3 or 4 days during your visit to Doha?
Yesterday we hosted a press conference on board of our ship to, of course, present the ship and to thank Qatar for their hospitality in a broad concept of cooperation with allied and partners here in the area, but also to give the possibility to our national industry to present this kind of product in Dimnex. And in the evening we host also a reception on board with main Italian authorities. Was our Minister of Defense present, not only our head of the Italian Navy, and many authorities from the Qatar and Qatar Navy.
Let me ask you a little bit about your deployment. Talk to us a little bit about the deployment. You know, that part of your job was to be here over the last couple of days. You're going to work with the Qataris, obviously, on your way back out before you get back on station. Talk to us a little bit about your deployment, how long it's lasting, and how soon you'll be back home in Italy.
Yes. Regarding our deployment, this first part that started in La Spezia on last 20th of February is part of a broad campaign that we are conducting as Italian Navy here in the Middle East. Doha was the second stop in this deployment after Karachi. We were there a couple of days ago. Afterwards, we're going to be to Kuwait City, then to Daman, and eventually to Abu Dhabi. That will conclude this Middle East campaign aimed at the same I told you before, so cooperation and enhancing the ties with partners and allies in the area. Afterwards, at the beginning of April, we will start a long deployment of 4 months as the flagship for Atalanta European Union mission to tackle the piracy problem in the Gulf of Aden and the Indian Ocean. So we will be back in Italy the end of August, at the point.
Well, at least you miss most of the hot summer, right? So you have a little bit, at least you'll be getting into the more pleasant weather. You mentioned Atalanta, and I have a two-part question about that because I know that you've conducted these operations over your career. One was the counter-piracy mission, which has been running for quite some time. Talk to us a little bit about the challenges of that mission, but also in the Mediterranean, the Italian Navy shouldered an enormous burden in terms of the refugee crisis. So did the Greek Navy, has worked on it. So has the Turkish Navy, has worked on it. The Spanish Navy has been engaged in that mission as well. Talk to us about the challenges of these very, very different missions. Folks have a tendency of looking at navies as projecting power and hunting submarines. At the same time, you're doing millennia-old missions like fighting pirates and also interdicting sea traffic and saving lives also as much as you can, even though some of those folks may have to be sent back. You're the first line of defense, and this has been wave after wave of people every day. Talk to us about the different challenges these missions present for a naval officer, but also for navies.
I would say that there are challenges. For a seaman, first of all, to save life at sea is a moral obligation before to be by law that you have to do this. Of course, challenges are various. You are trained for war fighting and things like that, but in real world you face scenarios that are not actually so black and white, let's say. So one of the role of the Navy is to be flexible in tackling every kind of phenomenon that can range from humanitarian relief assistance, tackling the problem of piracy that has various aspects. Is not just to take pirates and put them away, but is kind of comprehensive approach of the phenomenon. The same is in tackling the phenomenon of irregular immigration that is in the Mediterranean.
Sir, thanks very, very much. You've been very generous with your time. I know you have a tremendous amount of work to do. You came down from your stateroom before you get ready to get underway tomorrow. We really appreciate it. Thanks very, very much. Best of luck on the deployment, and look forward to seeing you again sometime. Commander Giuseppe Lei of the Italian Navy, Commanding Officer of the Carlo Margottini. Sir, thanks very much again.
Okay. Thanks to you for this opportunity given to me. Thank you very much indeed. Bye.
Lieutenant Rossi, as we've been going around the ship, there have been so many little thoughtful features that we've seen. As soon as you come to the bridge, for example, these consoles don't get in the way of the view outside, whether it's thruster controls. And you mentioned that it was like somebody had thought through all the details. Talk to us about some of the little features that, as a professional naval officer, when you see them, are things that sort of, you're like, boy, that was a great idea, that was a great idea, that was a great idea.
Yeah, first of all, I want to emphasize that you are inside one of the most wonderful bridge that we have in the Italian fleet. So from this ship, you have the control of all what happened around the ship. You have a wide view all over the sea, and also starboard side and port side. The officer on duty can watch from behind or the console, the navigation radar, the electronic chart, but also from there, from the bow. From there, we have a wide corridor. You can go starboard to port with no problem, no restrictions. You can see the starboard side also from port, and it's very, very easier to spot targets, to spot surface merchant vessel or small boats that can be.
You can track everything visually anywhere around you, but and also you get a view aft from being enclosed in the bridge, so you don't necessarily have to go to the bridge wing to be able to get a good view aft as well.
Yes, that's true. And from this part of the ship, the Hassman can control the wheel, but also the propellers and the shaft. But from here, our commanding officer, when he's sitting here in the main chair, can control what happens on the tactical screen and the navigation radar, electronic chart, their engine situation, the general the electrical power production and everything.
And you mentioned electronic charts. What about paper charts?
We have still paper chart because we use electronic devices, but we don't rely only on these, and we still use chart support.
And when we were earlier on the tour, you said, and why do you keep paper charts?
Because if you don't have power at sea, you are lost. So it's better that you track your position also in a chart.
Even if it's a pain in the butt.
I can't say so.
So let's go out to the bridge wing. So you guys have the bow thruster set up where you have it at the helm station, you have 2 stations up here, but you also have something that's portable that goes out to the bridge wings.
Yes, we have 2 stations, one starboard and one port, that you can put outside. I can show you where.
So Lieutenant Rossi, tell us a little bit about, the thruster station, you can put all the way forward here to be able to control the ship as it's coming alongside.
Yeah, so the way forward, you can come here, plug in, and you can moor the ship just from here using the bow thruster. Bow thruster is a 160 degrees azimuthal thruster, and can bring the ship up to 7 knots.
Wow.
We call it also the last way to go home. If you lose all the shaft or propellers, you still have this bow thruster. It's retrievable, so we pull on when we are sailing, and we drop when we need it. And
reduces the need for tugs to come alongside.
Yes, of course. That's very important, because we are independent to set up sailing without thrust.
And one of the things that anybody who's been on a ship knows is when you're out here, there can be a little bit of clutter that gets in your way of being able to see, aft, or even as a lookout, that's an obstruction. And I thought your solution to the searchlight problem was fascinating.
Yes, we have this solution. It's very easier, but very useful for the lookouts and for the officer on duty on the bridge. If you need the searchlight, you just pull on and use it. But if you don't need, you can put this down, and does impede your view.
And one of the things also that's worth taking a look at over here is the amazing view that you have straight down. Whether you're coming alongside or whether or not you're doing an underway replenishment, you get an amazing view all around the ship, or at least on the side of the ship that matters the most.
Yeah. From the side where you are, you have all the view of all the ship. You are outside the line of the ship, so you can really see if the ship is touching the bird, if the ship is sailing right when you are near a replenishment ship, for example.
And let me ask you about the gun, because you guys talk to us quickly about the variants of the ship, right? There are 10 that are being built for the Italian Navy.
Yes.
There are 6 of them that have been delivered right now. Talk to us about the breakdown of the class, because even though the hull is the same, and as we discussed, this is the ASW optimized ship that has the 2 3-inch guns on it. There's also an anti-surface version of it that has a much more powerful gun, and you also have a very novel form of ammunition that you're shooting from these guns, which are truly guided projectiles. Talk to us a little bit about the 3 variants, and then also the firepower that that those 2 variants carry.
Yes, the Navy commissioned 10 FREMM frigate, 4 in ASW version, 6 in general purpose version. The general purpose has the 5-inch gun on the bow, is 12764 millimeters, and the ASW version has the 3-inch gun. These both of them have a new projectile version. The 3-inch is called Dart, in Italian Davide, and the 5-inch is called Vulcano. And this kind of projectile can be guided with little wings to extend the range and to be more precise towards the target. So it's very improving the effectiveness of this kind of gun.
And if you look at the gun house, the front faces of it are actually panels that fold open to expose a radar.
Yes, it's a cover that comes up and exposes the radar, and the radar can light the target for the projectile. The round per minute of this 3-inch gun is 120 round per minute. It's very, very impressive.
Now, let's go a little bit further aft, because that's where your missile bay is. So we're now at the weapons area. This is your
ASW deck launching system, decoy launching system.
Hold on a sec. And okay, so tell us about this, which looks like it's a
new kind of decoy that nobody has.
And it's nobody has it? You guys are the only guys who have it?
No, we have it. Also, someone else has it, but it's ASW decoy launching system is against torpedoes. Torpedoes launched by submarines against the ship, and throw out to the sea decoys that will manage the torpedoes when we go away.
And what's the name of the system?
The ASW DLS.
And it beats having a Nixie that you're trailing on a cable 1,000 feet behind you.
We don't have any more like something like this. We have something more very effectiveness, and that's made in by Italian industry.
And over here are your surface-to-surface missiles, which the captain talked about. But it looks like you can get, so talk to us about how many weapons and a little bit about the range of it, because that has a nice 200-plus kilometer range, which is a nice distance to be able to reach out and touch somebody in a fairly compact package.
Yes, I can confirm we can embark up to 8 surface-to-surface missile Teseo Mike Kilo 2A type. Is a new generation Teseo missile, and up to and also above 200 kilometers, and with GPS system, guide system, also for land-based targets could be used. We can also embark a MILAS system. MILAS system is a kind of missile that can bring torpedoes instead of a surface missile. So with a range of a missile, but at the end a torpedo.
And so that would be like the ASROC system, which is the anti-submarine rocket system that used to exist, that shot a torpedo far away from you when it found a sub.
It could be useful in this kind of ship, because this is an ASW ship, and has with the VDS, our variable depth sonar, deploying sonar, we have long range for subsurface search, and could be useful to have a long range weapon.
Now let's go to the hangar. Is that the best thing, or the? Let's go to the hangar to be able to see the flight deck and the aviation capabilities of the ship. Okay, so tell us a little bit about this gun as on our way to the flight deck, because this is both manual but also fully automatic.
Yes. This is 25 millimeters. High RPM is for self-defense, and can be managed from an operator from here, also with no operators, no man on deck, with remote control from the CIC, the Combat Information Room.
And what's the rate of fire?
120 rounds per minute. In one of our two hangars, this is the starboard one, the main one, is bigger. In order to, we can have on board also the EH-101, and this is the hangar for the EH-101, and also a maintenance hangar when we have to make maintenance and repair on the helicopters.
And a lot of folks just have a roller door, but this is a much more serious door. Talk to us a little bit about why you guys have something so robust.
Yeah, this is a huge door and can be opened hydraulically with oil control pump that can put it up and close at half. Yeah, it's all the way open when it's open.
Wow, that's like an armored door, for God's sakes. It's a very nice sized flight deck, and for folks who don't know, the EH-101 is a very, very big 3-engine helicopter. Talk to us about the size of the flight deck.
Yeah, this flight deck is very wide. Is more than 2 tennis camp wide. We can have on board with no problems 2 helicopters, 2 SH-90 or 1 SH-90 and 1 EH-101, the bigger one that we have in service in the Italian Navy.
And the starboard hangar, as you said, is the bigger one. The port or the left hangar is the smaller one that's more optimized for the NH-90. Talk to us about the boat handling system, because you're trying to put everything on the inside skin of the ship. Talk to us about why you're doing that, and also, is this kind of a quick retrieve system that you have on it as well?
Yes. I can explain both of them, because we have both of the ribs, the starboard and the port side, inside the ship, covered by this cover. In order to reduce our radar signature, to maintain the stealth condition, the stealth architecture of the ship, the stealth design. On the starboard side, we have a SAR rib, rigid hull inflatable boat, used for search and rescue operation and for maneuver board and all this kind of activity. And in the port side, we have a tactical tactical boat that can run up to 50 knots and more, used for marine operation, maritime interdiction operation, also for special forces operation. Can be launched away from the ship up to 10-15 miles and up. If you want, the general purpose version of the ship has a third ribs that is in the stern. We have the VDS, the variable depth sonar. They have the third rib. It's a kind of combat rib for special operation forces or Marine Corps.
And as we were coming up here, you pointed out the torpedo hangars as well, because you guys also have torpedo launchers on the ship as well.
Yeah, port and starboard side. 3 torpedo launchers, port and 3 starboard, and we have at the center the torpedo store with automatic handling system for the torpedoes to bring the torpedoes and put the torpedoes inside the tubes.
And how many underway replenishment stations? Just 1 port and 1 starboard?
Yes.
Grazie mille. I appreciate it. Thank you very, very much for having us aboard. We appreciate it. And Lieutenant LaGuardia, thank you very much, because we couldn't have done it without you. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Behind the set.
Yes, behind the set, behind the scenes.
LaGuardia, like the airport.
Yes, LaGuardia, like the airport. And, she would fit in very, very well in New York. Thank you very, very much. Really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Very honored to be on board.
Yeah.